Hello, Primals. Today I want to talk about a couple different topics, but the first being why promiscuity is not empowering, and the second is why you shouldn't compare yourself to losers. And I understand that some people may be triggered by this video, so here's your trigger warning for all of those people out there that are easy to really offend. Uh, with that being said, I just want to welcome everybody back. If you support content like this, the best way to support right now is to like or subscribe to the channel. And I really appreciate the feedback that I've received recently. And I want to just encourage people to become their best selves. And so let's get into today's topic. The reason that I want to talk about why promiscuity is not empowering is because now in the West, there are 1 in 5 adults that are diagnosed with either depression or anxiety. And the reason for that is not quite clear. However, I think that due to the rise of promiscuity over the past 20 to 30 years, that could be a potential factor in this. I also think that the promiscuity applies to both men and women. Now, obviously, men and women have always been intimate creatures. And in fact, there's a lot of utility in us being intimate creatures. However, I would hope that seeing what has happened over the past 20 to 30 years and just how families have begun to dissolve and looking at what families dissolving does to society in general just goes to show for me that, well, if it's good for society to have families, then it must be good for me to have a family to some degree, right? Whether that's a tribe of some sort, whether that is a spiritual tribe, whatever you want to call it, you need a tribe, because at the end of the day, a group of well competent, like highly competent individuals that are well equipped to handle frustrations are going to outsmart, outplay, and outwalk in all realms of life any person that is alone. I know this because just from doing these videos, it has shown me how even when you're alone, you're not really alone. And that everything that you do is going to have some kind of effect. And this is where we come back to promiscuity. No pun intended. But promiscuity is become, I think, a place in the mind where there is dis-ease. I don't want to call it a disease, but I think there is dis-ease in the minds of those people that have these kinds of thoughts of intimate acts too frequently. There's a few other factors that I think contribute to this. It's that there's an immediate access to pornography. There's an immediate access to any kind of I want to make myself clear. I don't want to knock people down for having intimate relationships. Again, you can do what you want to do. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just here to try to put some pieces together that I can see in the puzzle of life. And it is clear that women that have a lot of partners, especially if they start out younger, are by definition and by just the data that we've collected, women are not going to be prone to stick to one partner. And what that does is it breaks down the family unit. And when the unit of the family breaks down, well, we can see what happens. There are lots of times of confusion. It's times of anxiety, times of depression. There's times of lack of nurturing. Women don't even know how to be women anymore. And men are too busy focused on trying to get women that they don't even really want in the first place, that they're so blinded by what's actually going on. So suicide rates in men are going up. Women are mentally ill, at least 1 in 5 of them, or 1 in 5 adults total. But there's a majority of those 1 in 5 adults are women over men. So men are going to be more likely to actually commit suicide than women, but women are going to be more prone to actually get mental health issues in the long run. So what does that say about the times that we live in? It's that we should, at least, I don't want to say should, because I don't want people to think that I'm a should-free zone. Let's just put it like that. I don't like that. I don't like that word should. And it would be helpful to society if we commit ourselves to a higher purpose. And if that higher purpose were something that benefited something greater than ourselves. Now, that is very difficult to do when you are surrounded by people in all walks of life that are losers, simply put. And the thing that I want to say about losers is that the loser mindset is anything that you say makes you a lesser person in your own eyes. I believe in things that make me stronger as an individual. I believe in things that only make me more powerful. At least I strive to be. Because the minute that I don't is the minute that I start to disregard my own value as a human being. And when you disregard your own value as a human being, then you're lost. You're a puppet to somebody else's show, and you are not the actual person living out the act of life. And that's another thing, is at the end of the day, action will always triumph over thinking or feelings. Why? Because we live in a physical reality. Yes, there is a spiritual realm. However, which I will go into later on, not in this video, but in another one down the road. But we live primarily in the physical reality. Like we are physical beings. We are spiritual beings having a human experience, right? So there is a kind of transcendent ideal within ourselves that we can live up to, but it comes from inside of ourselves. It does not come from something outside of ourselves. And that's another thing I think goes wrong with promiscuity. Who are you empowering? You're giving your value away. You're giving your life away. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Any person that is a show to everybody is special to no one. I honestly think that that's one of the reasons why someone like, is it Marilyn Monroe? Marilyn Monroe. Yeah, she committed suicide, right? And she had one of the most popular quotes that she had was that she lived for the public. Let me look up that quote actually. I knew I belonged to the public and to the world, not because I was talented or even beautiful, but because I had never belonged to anything or anyone else. That's a hell of a quote, to be honest. But I think one of the reasons that she committed suicide was probably because there was a kind of, I mean, I don't want to analyze her life because I don't know her, but it seems to me that she lived for so many other people so often that she forgot to live for herself. And yet, it is that very belonging to anything and anyone else is what makes us human beings. And so there's a lot to think about there, but the point is that she didn't compare herself to losers either. She was her own person. And she definitely had a different kind of view of the world and a different kind of value to bring to the world. And though I think this is another thing that's important to note is that nakedness is only perverted if you think it's perverted. And that is something that the Bible teaches us, I think, in Genesis with the story of Adam and Eve. They only put on the clothes after they realized that they were naked. Before they realized that they were naked, no one cared. No one really gave a crap. So it was only after they realized that they were naked is when they clothed themselves and they tried to hide from God. And I think, well, trying to hide from God is like trying to hide from yourself. You can do it for a while, but do you really think that you can do it for long periods of time to the end of your days? Do you really think you can do it? I don't know. Can you really hide from yourself? Can you really tell yourself that you are not, or you are something that you're not? There's a lot to digest. It is also clear to me that because there's such a rise in this kind of victim mentality, it's very contagious. I don't know if you guys have realized this, but it's very contagious. Why? Because you don't have to do anything. Because doing things actually takes effort. And when you don't have to do anything, you can just sit back and blame the world. But what good is that going to do anybody in the long run? I don't think these people actually ask themselves that. And I can understand why you wouldn't even know to ask yourself that, because if that's all you're around, that's all you're told to think about is how terrible the world is to you and to nobody else, then of course, you're not going to understand the bigger picture. But with that being said, I hope this message was at least informative and gives you guys and ladies the courage to be something more and to stand by values and then have integrity, even though it's very difficult at times. but that's going to be what keeps the glue of society together in the long run. So, may peace be unto you. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.